Hey all, welcome to the Polco Minute, where you hear the latest best practices and news in local government and civic engagement. I'm Angelica Waddell with this week's headlines. Our first article today offers some actionable advice for dealing with the budget complications brought on by COVID-19. Huey Newsom from Route 50 says that sweeping budget cuts may not be the best option. According to a survey from the National Association of Counties, 68% of counties across the nation have cut or delayed services. Cities and counties have made workforce cuts, enacted hiring freezes, wage holds, layoffs, furloughs, reduced hours, and even forced early retirements. The Coronavirus Relief Fund did provide state and local governments with $150 billion in federal aid, but the reality is that not much of the funding went to local governments directly. The receipt of any further federal aid is uncertain, and budget decisions for local leaders remain difficult. As we move forward in these uncertain times, there are a few things to consider as part of the financial planning process. The primary and most important factor is a clear understanding of your revenue streams. States, counties, and cities can have many different funding streams, and the pandemic has impacted each and every one of them differently. One example is the use of gas taxes. If residents continue driving less, then adjustments need to be made that account for lower income from this stream. But this would be a very specific solution and not a generic across-the-board cut. Understanding the conditions surrounding each stream will help get a much more accurate picture of where problems truly exist. The next piece of advice is to make repeated cuts wherever possible. This means allowing certain functions to go dark for short periods, usually 8 to 10 weeks. This can be accomplished by developing a functional inventory for every department. Once every function has been inventoried, you can then separate out the contracts and employees needed to support those operations. Seeing all of this clearly will help you determine what can be paused temporarily. And the final piece of advice: never compromise your future. Our water, wastewater, and stormwater systems are critical infrastructures, and deferred maintenance on critical systems and infrastructure can result in additional budget stress on top of risks to health of your citizens and their safety. Our next article focuses on how to build civic engagement online. In a world where civil discord continues to grow, it often feels like our nation is struggling to get along. Many online platforms have been developed with the goal of helping neighbors to communicate and to collaborate to solve local problems. But most of us have experienced these platforms becoming the opposite of civil or productive. I've even heard jokes calling these platforms the neighborhood fight club. So to move forward, we need to reduce the polarization gap, decrease tensions, and find a solution that can be accessed by a broad range of residents. For this reason, we created Polco Live. Polco Live is a tool for local governments and provides live audience feedback in a more useful and engaging way during in-person or virtual events. Look, we know that many barriers exist that keep residents from participating with local government, and fewer than 25% ever even attend a public meeting. But Polco Live offers a way to engage with a larger resident population in a way that's more convenient for everyone. And by embracing technology, Polco is helping to ensure that diverse community voices are being heard. Polco's platform is data-focused, which makes it both more efficient and more civil. Using data in public meetings helps to focus conversations and identify common goals. It keeps the focus on reality and off of the anecdotal or emotional fights. Polco Live also offers parameters that provide structure and security. For example, the platform has a verification process to ensure that responses come from people who actually live in the community rather than random internet trolls. And at the same time, privacy and confidentiality of every individual respondent is always guaranteed. Polco never shows information of individuals, and results are only reported in group form. Polco Live is just one way for communities to counter the disruptive nature of the pandemic and polarizing political events. Our final article today takes a look at the ways public and private sectors are coming together to ensure equity and trust with COVID-19 vaccinations. Cities are working with state and county health departments, as well as the federal government. But they're also working with community leaders, local health centers, and private sector partners. The goal is to ensure that residents are informed about the vaccine and that they have access to it once available. To that end, many local governments are turning to community engagement platforms. Polco is one example that offers surveys and polls to help local leaders gather community input on relevant topics. We recently created a COVID-19 vaccination survey that's helping local officials understand resident concerns surrounding the vaccine. Survey questions measure a range of things, including residents' willingness or hesitancy to get vaccinated, logistical concerns, and where residents are searching for up-to-date information. Eden Prairie, Minnesota is one city that deployed the Polco COVID-19 vaccination survey with amazing results. They received 2,200 responses in just 3 days, and they'll use that information to help them develop their vaccine strategy. For example, the survey showed them that 88% of their residents wanted a vaccine as soon as one becomes available. This means Eden Prairie officials can focus more on the where and when and less on the why. Public and private sectors are also coming together to ensure equity in vaccine distribution. CVS and Walgreens are using the CDC's Social Vulnerability Index to help them allocate vaccine supplies. The CDC's index provides metrics that help CVS and Walgreens prioritize vaccine supplies in areas that are high risk for COVID-19. And finally, Uber and Lyft are private sector companies working to overcome vaccine access barriers. Survey data show that 45% of Americans don't have access to public transportation. To help with this major barrier to vaccination, Uber and Lyft are offering millions of free rides to and from vaccination sites. And these are just a few of the ways that the public and private sectors are partnering to ensure equitable vaccine access for every resident. Thanks for watching the Polco Minute with me. My name is Angelica Waddell, Director of Communications at Polco National Research Center. Polco makes it easy for local governments to get accurate and reliable feedback from their communities. How are you keeping up with today's engagement issues and trends? Join a panel discussion with other local government leaders and us nationwide. Connect with me on LinkedIn or send us a note at polco.us/contact to let us know if you're in. See you next time.